What is going on, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio, and my guest at this very time is the personification of gold, Jay Heru. Jay, what is going on? How are you?
What's up, man? Jay Heru here in the flesh. He's not stomping faces tonight. He's today because it's light. He's talking. He's interacting. So y'all get to know Jay Heru a little bit more.
Yeah, dude. Jay, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today and being able to do this, man.
Thank you for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to show myself in the flesh or hear myself in the flesh. So
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
man. So a lot of people may not know who Jay Haru is, but explain to the nerds who Jay Haru is and how did Jay Haru become Jay Haru?
Well, Jay Heru, he's a very let's say handsome because I dress fly. I gotta look good out there. A very handsome, intellectual, you know, wealthy man. If I could describe myself in three words: healthy, intellectual, and wealthy.
I feel like that is a perfect character for wrestling. Uh, Watching growing up, were you a big fan of wrestlers who had that character that you just explained?
Oh yes, yes, yes. Back then, yes, when I used to not admire myself, I used to really, I used to really be a really big fan of The Rock, Triple H, Ric Flair, Randy Orton. But now it's time to surpass those guys because I'm doing what they're doing, and
You named Randy Orton, you named The Rock, you named someone else. What really gravitated, what made them gravitate to you? What really just caught their interest, your interest?
it was their swagger, the swagger, the way they presented themselves. They had that like macho presence. That a man needs out here in the world. I really loved how The Rock dressed and like he motivated me to buy like all these dashikis that you see me bring to the ring. I love how Randy Orton, his character, he was just, I'm gonna do it, and there's really nothing you can say about it. I really love that when he was doing the Legend Killer stuff.
Right.
So now that I'm doing what they're doing, I combine that all together and stop admiring them, and now you see Jeharu.
I love it, dude. When did you first start watching wrestling? What was your first experience like as a wrestling fan?
Um, my parents always told me I was a baby. I think I was a couple of months old in 1997. I think Michaels was champion, and my dad was flipping through channels, and he tried to flip from wrestling because I was hooked. I think he stopped to do something. And I was so hooked that he tried to turn, and I threw a temper tantrum, and ever since then, the rest is history.
Dude, so your family wasn't really into wrestling. Are you like were you the only one who liked it, enjoyed it?
They were into wrestling, but like people fade away from it. Me, I just stayed with it because when you like I would buy all the DVDs, like the Rocks DVDs, Austin's, Triple H, all the Attitude Era DVDs, and I had all the action figures. So when you consume yourself without, when you consume your time with that for such a long time, you just like, I want to be a wrestler. Like you forget about being a firefighter, a cop, or basketball player. You want to be a wrestler. So I consume my time with wrestling with the DVDs. So that made me want to do it.
And now they don't have well, they still have DVDs. Now we have Peacock and the WWE Network. If you don't live in America, I'm assuming you have Peacock. I'm assuming you watch all the old wrestling. Is there any matches before you started watching wrestling? What other matches, in the '80s, like you kind of gravitated towards?
Oh, I love to study the Iron Sheik versus Sergeant Slaughter. That feud, God,
Excellent, fantastic.
wow, made me do my signature pose. That's how good it is. It's just money. Them and Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. Those are the top two feuds for me.
Yeah, dude, like some of the feuds back, and especially like in the Attitude Era, just don't really compare to what we see now. There's so much wrestling, AEW, ROH, MLW. I could go on and on. Obviously, WWE. Uh, do you really still kind of continue watching wrestling? Do you stick with it? Do you keep up with it?
Yeah, I try to keep up with it. I try to envision myself in it. Because I know I could get in there. I'm TV ready. You see my presence out there when
Right.
I'm out there. You know, I catch up with it. You know, I mean, they're doing what they're doing, but if J Heru was in there, they could really be doing what they're doing. If you catch my drift.
No, absolutely, dude. And again, it's so much to keep up with to the point where it's kind of overwhelming. You're like, okay, like, I
Yeah,
gotta kind of die. Like, just you need to take like a whole week off from work just to catch up on all the wrestling, or like even Google all these wrestlers. Like, who is this? Who's that? Like, where they come from? Like, there's so much. Like, back in 2006, back in 2007, you didn't really know what the independents were, and now
no.
obviously independent wrestling is really taking over the wrestling world, and which is what I love. I've been a big, massive mark for independent wrestling for years, and I'm really glad these wrestlers are starting to get the recognition they deserve. And it's awesome. Let's talk about you, man. When you first started training, what was it like? What made you, be like, okay, this is what I want to do?
Well, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew like I'm not one of those people that like just set a goal. If like I'm 3 months in, let's see how I feel 3 months in. Like, no, I knew I wanted to do this. I'm a showman. People have to see me. Check out the logo, by the way.
There you go. Look at that. Love it.
But yeah, my first experience in the ring, I remember taking a bump, did some promos. You know, it felt good to finally like step in the wrestling world because I always dreamed about it for years. So to finally be in it and like do what at the time my role models were doing or did, it felt really good. So I knew right away I wanted to do it. There was no time limit on my stuff. Like I'm in it to the death.
A lot of wrestlers going into training don't really, they always say the story like, oh, I want to be a wrestler, but I didn't know what I had to do, or what steps I had to take. What were the steps that you had to take, to find the school, to to find the perfect school for you? Because schools are most important in wrestling, I feel.
Yeah. Me, I didn't care. I just went head first. Like I'm one of those people. Like I'm just gonna fail until I learn.
Right.
So I went head first. I didn't care if it was the worst school. I just wanted to be in the ring. I just wanted to show who I was. So the steps that I took, thankfully we had social media, all this technology stuff. So I just searched any local areas I could find in New Jersey, and from there went from point A to point B, and now Jay Haru's here in flesh.
There you go. And going through the training, what was again? You must have felt like a kid in the candy store, stepping through the ring for the first time. What were you expecting stepping in that ring? Were you expecting, or was it like, oh shit, like this is not what I was expecting at all?
It's neither. Like everything just happens. Like, and that's kind of my life. Everything just happens. I just have to like always be ready. That saying, always be ready instead of getting ready. So
Right.
like, stepping in the ring, you never know what's gonna happen. Well, I guess I'm going that route. It's like unexpected. I expected it to be unpredictable because you can't predict your own future. So, you know, like I said, when I stepped in the ring, I didn't expect to get hurt, but I expect the unexpected, pretty much, to sum it up.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think that's the best thing to do is go. I mean, don't go in expecting like too much, because you never know what's gonna happen. Did you have your family like, was your family supportive of you when you said, "Hey, I want to be a wrestler," or were they like, "Okay"?
It was a bit of both. They wanted me to like continue because I did track in high school. They wanted me to
Okay.
continue with track. They wanted me to continue with that or like do other sports, because I got scholarships for track. But I'm like, no, I want
Oh
to show my
shit.
person. Yeah, I want to show my personality. Yeah, Jay was good in other stuff too. I'm not just good at talking on the mic or stomping faces. Yes, I actually have other talents, but uh it was a bit of both, but you always got to bet on yourself. And I rolled the dice on me, and I just went, regardless if I failed or not. Even if I did fail, I was still gonna go, because I'm pretty sure there's like some successful wrestler out there that we didn't know their failures, and they still went
Right.
because they
Of
believed in
course.
it. So, so I always rolled the dice on me. I'm a
You ma-
gambler. I always gambled on myself.
that's what you got to do, man. You got to gamble on yourself. You said you did track. What was that like? Were you always into track? Did you do it your entire life?
No, I only did it in high school. It was just something to keep me like out of trouble. Uh, and plus, like, I still wanted to wrestle, but obviously you can't wrestle at the age of 14, 15. So, you know, uh, yeah, I couldn't find any wrestling, and you can't really wrestle at that age anyway. So it was just something for me to do, and I was really good at it. So, it was pretty fun. I won a pen relays one year. Back in 2013. I was I was second in the county, seventh in the section. Yeah, so I had a pretty successful track career, but I always knew I wanted
Jesus.
to wrestle because I was a showman, and
Right. Nah, hell yeah, dude. I mean, it's crazy to think like, because I thought you just always wrestled. I didn't know you did track. So see, look, I learned something new every day. It's kind of crazy. Look at that.
yeah.
Going through the training and everything. Obviously wrestlers never stop training. Training is always a consistent thing you guys do because you always want to work on your craft and there's always new things to learn. Uh,
hmm
I'm not a wrestler. I will never be a wrestler. But I know like that it takes a lot to get in that ring and do what you guys do, and I give you the utmost respect for it. Uh, again, training. When was like the right time? You felt okay. I'm ready, and I'm ready to get booked, or your trainers felt that you were ready.
So I'm one of those kids that like wants to bite more than he can chew. So I I thought I was ready my first day in.
Your first day in.
Yeah,
Wow.
I like to like head dive into the pool when it says don't head dive into the pool. I'm one of those
Right.
people. You know, I just want to get in, learn, and just keep going and going and going. I never like stopped to say, okay, I'm ready. Like I always thought I was ready, always, even when I wasn't.
Damn. So like, but how long did it take you? What was your first booking? At what promotion, if you remember?
Well, I remember the exact day in the promotion. I started training June 2017. Then for IWF in Nutley, and they closed the first month. Then I went to Wrestle Pro in July 2017, and then I think 8, 9 months later in March 9th, 2018, mark that down. Heru's first match, March 9th, 2018, in Union, New Jersey. That was my first match. When I had my first match, I was like, finally, it's like I don't mean to twist like the analogy I'm about to use. It's like getting your first kiss. It's like finally, like it's happening. It's
Right.
happening. I get to finally learn and get my feet wet. Like, let's do this. I'm here.
Right.
You know, took some bumps and bruises on the way there. Even like after having my first match, took some bumps and bruises. But we all live and learn. We all get better.
Now, was it a singles match? Was it a battle royal tag match?
No, well, I had a battle royal in IWF. But like the one at Wrestle for my first match there, it was a 6-man tag. It was
Okay.
me. I don't know if you're familiar with Vargas, and some other dude that left wrestling versus CPA, Kip Stevens and Hash. If you follow Wrestle Pro, those
Yeah,
guys,
I know, I know Kip Stevens. I've heard of was it CP? I heard of them. I know they wrestle a lot up in Connecticut a lot too.
yeah,
Well, they
they
did
they
when they
were.
were a tag team.
Yeah, I think they were a Breakfast Club or something. I forgot they were Breakfast something. I forgot. It was so
Yeah,
long ago.
it's so much wrestling to keep up with, like especially the indies too. Like if you go to all these shows, like you're constantly learning new people, and you're like, oh yeah, he wrestled for yeah that's a promotion. Sure, whatever.
Yeah, and that's why I always keep up with me, and like going forward, I think everyone would keep up with Jay Haru because, I have so much to offer.
Right. And to wrestle in Jersey for the very first time must have been pretty cool because not only is wrestling big in Jersey, it's big all in the Northeast, like Connecticut, where I see you a lot. Northeast wrestling, we'll talk about that soon. Just but to wrestle in Jersey, what was that like? I know, like going in, you must have knew like Jersey was a pretty big wrestling state.
I, I just, saw I was finally getting my first match, so I was excited about that. I never looked at it as, wrestling in Jersey.
Okay.
I know it's pretty boring to
Right.
say, but like, excuse me. Yeah, I just saw it as an in the ring. But to wrestle in Jersey, since I grew up here, that has a special place in my heart. So I did love that. My first match was in Jersey. I did love that. I was appreciative of that.
Absolutely. And you've been wrestling, you've been training for like well over, 3.5 years, 4 years, if I'm not
Four,
mistaken.
four and a half years.
4.5 years. You're wrestling in all these promotions, and then unfortunately, as we all know, last year the pandemic hit, everything got shut down, COVID, which fucking sucked for a lot of people, and also a lot of people, as myself, took advantage of the time to really, you know, work on everything, work on my podcast, work on Nerds of Wrestling. But this isn't about me. This is about you. How were you able to really keep a positive mindset during that time and work on your craft?
When COVID happened, it did slow me down because y'all would have heard about me a lot sooner, but COVID happened. So, um, how I stayed positive, I just invested my money into buying more dashikis, more fresh stuff. Talking in mirror more. Just like how can I look good more out there? How can I like stomp somebody's face out there? That's all I did. Just like think of plots and schemes on how to like get the upper hand of somebody in a match. That's really all I did. And of course, expand my wardrobe. That's pretty much all I did to stay positive.
I mean, that's the best thing to do. And when finally COVID was over, when things were looking, finally dying down a little bit, do you remember what promotions you were able to get, booked at? Do you remember like where you were able to wrestle?
You talking about before or after?
After COVID, like everything's done, everything's kind of slowly but surely dying down.
I was still wrestling at WrestlePro, Pro Wrestling Magic. I got into new like in February this year. Uh, let's see, X, excuse me, XWA. I was there for a bit. Uh, let's see, chaotic. I'm about to get in there. Well, we keep that one low because I didn't just say that. Yeah, but there's a lot more bigger promotions. I'm still getting in contact with that y'all hear about soon.
And again, there's so much wrestling all over the place. Northeast Wrestling is one of them. Northeast Wrestling, obviously, a major big promotion. Again, that's where I seen you at. That's where I was like, okay, let me look more into this guy, Jay Heru. I love your character, bro. You're doing great in Northeast Wrestling. Uh, were you always a fan of Northeast Wrestling? I mean, I know it's kind of like a cliche question to ask. It's no, but it's kind. I want to know, like, what was your feeling getting booked into Northeast Wrestling?
I felt like finally somebody with such a stature, somebody of my stature and a big stage. I'm like, yeah, this is where, excuse my French, this is where I fucking belong. Like, I'm finally here. Let's fucking do this business. Excuse my French again.
Nah, you're fine.
Northeast, it's such a big deal. Even before I got to wrestling, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, Cody, Karengu, and the Hardys, they were there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, this promotion looks like a signed company. And then the final they were indie, I was like mind blown. I was like, oh god, they were never a televised signed company. Wow, this is indies, amazing. So when a guy of my stature finally stepped foot in the doors, I'm like, yeah, let's do this, Northeast.
Were you able to wrestle in Studio Wars? If I'm not mistaken, that's what it was called back when
Yes.
they were doing all those shows. I know they were doing them at the XWA building in Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm, Rhode Island. Yes.
Rhode Island.
Um, yeah, that's why I made my debut at in February this year. February this year, I made my debut at NEW Studio Wars. Yeah, I think I
And I
wrestled the. What were you gonna say?
no, no, you go. Sorry.
I think I wrestled Ligursky, and then I think I wrestled MCM. The nerd caller.
Right, right.
Of course, I stomped him out. Smacked him up a little bit.
I feel like a lot of Northeast wrestling fans were very happy when they announced, like, hey, we're coming out with Studio Wars. We're going to bring all these guys in. They're going to do their thing. And because I know a few other promotions were doing it, such as, Limitless was doing their Dojo Wars, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it's called. And, or The Road and everything. It's just, it felt like finally like we get to see all this wrestling again, and now we're able to go back to the shows. We're able to really just sit down and finally watch some wrestling, which is incredible just to know. There's so much wrestling in New England, so much wrestling all over the world. Where do you see yourself wrestle? Where would you like to go?
God, my stature, I see myself at the biggest promotions. I can. Hey, you never know. Like probably tomorrow, if Limitless has the show, you'll see me there. You know, Beyond, you'll probably see me there. You'll probably see me on the AEW Dark. Ring of Honor, Impact, WWE, you name it. You never know. You never know where Jay Heru could end up because probably after this call, I'll be making a move somewhere. I'm a businessman, all right.
Right.
I gotta
I
promote the brand.
Of course, you got to promote everything. I feel like Jay Haru will fit anywhere perfectly. But other than wrestling, man, what does Jay Haru like to do on his downtime? Netflix, Hulu. There's so much streaming services out there. What is your binge worthy show?
Oh, I love Power. You know Power, 50 Cent Power.
I know the show. I just don't watch it.
Okay, well, yeah, that it's like pretty much just like a Kingpin kind of show. I love that. I love anything Kingpin style. Whoever like makes money, talks about money. I love that because I'm a money maker myself. I invest in stocks, so I do that, and try to see like what can I do more to expand my brand, expand my wealth, expand my knowledge of self. So yeah, that's what I love to do in my downtime. I love to watch Power, Snowfall, a lot of Kingpin stuff. I love to watch Scarface. Like if I could like imitate that lifestyle without the like gruesome stuff that happened in the
Right.
movie, I'd be okay.
Again,
Well, I
like
pretty much I'm emulating it now, but like without the gruesome stuff.
right. There's so much shows to watch. Did you get hooked on any new shows during COVID? Like for me, for example, I got hooked on what was it called? Parks and Rec. Obviously, I'm a huge Office fan, but I binged like Parks and Rec. I think in like 2 weeks, and I was like, oh my god, I have a problem. This is not okay.
I've heard about that. I hadn't watched it. I have, this is pretty much out of character for me to say, but I have binge watched you, not you, but like the
Yes,
show you.
yes, yes. Oh my! Off the record, off the record. Did you watch season 3?
I seen all three.
Dude, oh my god, it was so good. Holy shit, nah, dude, excellent show, excellent. I just finished it, dude. It was fantastic.
I never saw me watching a show like that. Like watching it, I'm like, what is going on right now? There's like
Right.
no kingpins in this, but like it's so interesting. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go further with this, and then next thing you know, like you said, I had a problem. I got hooked.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it was a fantastic show, excellent
Yeah.
show, man. I'm hoping for season 4, but no, I'm not gonna say any spoilers to anybody with the way it ended. Do you see a season 4 in the future?
Oh yes, they had me at the palm of my hands on season 3, so definitely you can't just like end it at season 3. You can't. You just can't. Like there has to be more. And like, well, I'm not gonna spoil it. Maybe. Well, let's just say he's in another um country. He's in another
Yeah,
country.
he's in fucking. He's in. I'm just. He's in Paris. Motherfucker's in Paris. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
shit.
so there's
What is
definitely a
going
season
on?
4.
I don't know. Like you said, season 3 had me at the palm of my hands. When that shit happened, I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this show, dude? Had me all fucked up. Cobra Kai. How about Cobra Kai? Are you a fan of Cobra Kai?
No, I hadn't watched that. I've heard about that. The shows Park and Rec and Cobra Kai I hadn't like caught up with yet.
There's so much time to catch up on all the shows, man. Going back to wrestling, I just want to ask you, in your opinion, what is the best WrestleMania of all time?
17. No
Yes,
hesitation.
yes. I was gonna say you gotta say 17, man. 17 is a
Yeah,
fantastic TLC match. Hardy's, Christian Edge, and the Dudley Boys. Hands
you had the
down, greatest match right there.
you had the TLC match that like defined that era for tag teams, and then you had Undertaker and Triple H. You had the big bands all finally clash together. Uh, the other matches were lit, and then finally the main event, Rock versus Austin, that really like brought the era together. That happened. So for all that to fit into one show, that was amazing.
Do you see WWE putting on a WrestleMania like that at all, or do you think like there's no way no WrestleMania could touch that?
I do see myself at a WrestleMania,
There you
but
go.
um, it's possible. They're doing good. They're doing good for their product. They could add a little, seasoning with Jay Heru, but they're doing pretty good. I can see it happen again. Like with Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, something with those three. Um, I could see like them doing something like that at a WrestleMania because they're pretty much uh but not bigger than me at the moment. At the moment, they're pretty much like at the top of the food chain in that company. So I could see like Vince like using those three to like really sell some tickets or push the Peacock pre-sales, whatever you call that for
Right.
WrestleMania. Where are we at now? 38. Yeah, 38.
30, yeah, 38, 37 was just happening. Yeah, 38 already, huh? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I just remember watching 23 when I was 12, and now we're already at 38.
Oh God, yeah, 23. That was another good one too.
Yeah, oh yeah, fantastic. That was my first WrestleMania I've ever watched like on live pay-per-view. I wasn't there. Unfortunately, I wasn't there
Oh,
in Detroit, but I was there at home with my friends watching it, and a lot of people my age were like, "Yeah, no, that's the first WrestleMania I've ever like ordered on pay-per-view." I'm like, "Shit, so I'm not the only one." Okay. No, it's crazy to think about. And yeah, anyway, man. Jay, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, bro. This has been a lot of fun. I hope to have you on again in the near future, and I'll
oh yes,
definitely see you at some Northeast wrestling shows, or maybe not
yes.
Northeast wrestling. Maybe I'll see you on TV at some point.
You never know where Jay Haru's gonna end up at. You just gotta stay tuned for Jay Haru.
Yeah, stay tuned for Jay Haru. But until then, man, drop those plugs. Where can the nerds find you? Hopefully, I
Yes.
got your plugs right.
Ah. Oh yeah, you did. I'll just DM you again. You know what it is, but like, yeah.
All right. Well, the his plugs are on the thumbnail. Is was it J Haru underscore 9617, right? Not J
Yes, correct.
underscore. It is J Haru underscore 9617. I will drop those links in the description below. Yeah. Until then, man. Thank you again for coming on the show. And this
Thank
has
you.
been an yeah, of course. This has been an episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by nerds of wrestling. I'm your host, Justin Del Rio. Peace out, nerds.